Earlier, Rob told us that he fears the numbers needing treatment will escalate, but the right kind of help is simply not available.
The current forms of therapy include cognitive behavioural therapy, EMDR, eye movement desensitisation, reprocessing, drugs, psychotherapy, counselling. They all miss the mark. We have lots and lots of guys that are coming to us that are at the extreme. These current processes don't actually help them. So they're coming to us now for a completely new form of therapy, which is based around the therapies or parts of the therapies out there that work.
Well, Falklands veteran Simon Weston suffered post-traumatic stress disorder for 20 years. He joins us live on the show now. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for joining us on the show. Describe your struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Well, my time was quite sort of traumatic in the sense I woke up every night. I'd sleep for 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours if I was lucky, for 24 years, and I'd wake up like I was on fire, a bath of sweat, and that became normality to me. I did some work with people with PTSD, and it seemed to free me up because my PTSD was bad enough, but theirs was 10, 15 times worse than mine. And that just allowed me to see that, or mentally it allowed me to free up. And, I've actually seen Rob's work, and I've seen how successful it can be. Had that been available to me, it would have been an absolute godsend.
It's interesting you should say that, because we were talking to Rob in the last hour of the show, and he said, obviously the Army, the Armed Forces do offer all these treatments. They're not effective. He seemed to think that his treatment, which essentially is based on ex-soldiers talking to one another and supporting one another, really helps. And it sounds like your experience would bear that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the experience I had, I saw a morning's worth of work carried out by another fellow veteran called Mick Stott. And Mick was working really, really cleverly with these people. But there were people there that were severe alcoholics because of their service life. There was one chap there who tried to end his life in a very traumatic format with a shotgun. And these people were happy. These people were starting to smile again. They weren't wearing symbols of their past. They were starting to look to the future. And I think one of the biggest problems is that people's minds are stuck with the traumatic past that they've experienced, and they're not able to open the door to the rest of their lives. And I think with some of the therapies and treatments that work with some, but don't work with all, and they need to start looking at different avenues. And just because you don't have doctor in front of your name or professor after your name, it shouldn't be discounted. It shouldn't be ignored. If it's working, let's use it. The Americans have got a very open-minded attitude to it all, and they use it. They use everything to their best ability, and they say if it works, use it. Don't hold back on it. And a friend of mine who's a psychologist has just come back from America doing just that, and he's looking to go and talk and work with Talking2minds as well. So, if it works, use it. Don't ignore it just because you don't have a doctor or professor attached to it.
Because essentially it's a complementary treatment that Rob Paxman is offering, and he's saying because of that it's not recognised by NICE, which is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence, and therefore they can't get funding. And he's also saying, well, it is working. He's been doing this programme for a few years, and the government should step in and put some funding their way. Presumably that's something you would agree with.
Absolutely, yeah. NICE, they're licensing all these people who are given therapies that only work for some, but they don't work for all. And if that's the case, then, NICE are missing the mark as well. So NICE for clinical excellence are actually using that term incorrectly.
Do you think that the issue of mental health is still a taboo subject in the armed forces? Is it something that needs to be taken more seriously?
I think that the military, they do as much as they can. But as we're hearing today, they cut funding for projects to end terrorism in Pakistan and Afghanistan border regions. If they're going to cut that, then something as classed maybe as trivial as mental health in the military may not come as high a priority in the spend list. So, you know, we may be missing out on a very good opportunity to help a lot of people at relatively low cost, because the long-term cost, if you have a look at the amount of veterans in prison, I mean, that's jumped 100-fold in the last 20 years because of PTSD. And we need to make sure that people are not costing society in real emotional costs and financial costs as well. It costs hundreds of thousands of pounds to keep one person in prison for 2 years, whereas for £1,500, you could cure somebody of PTSD and they could go back into society without causing any problems to themselves, to society as a whole, or even to their families, you know, who are there and they bear the brunt of most of the problems that are caused by PTSD.
It does really have a knock-on effect. I get your point. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Falklands veteran there, Simon Weston. Apologies for the quality of that phone line. And in the next hour, we're going to be getting a response from Kevin Jones, the Minister for